looks like we are broadcasting, and I am the host. Good morning to everyone out here on the West Coast, and good afternoon to you all on the East. And wherever you're coming from right now, we just want to say thank you for attending the first ever Sen-Jam virtual press conference hosted by Red Crow. And I'm your host, Kevin Edwards from Real Leaders Magazine and the Real Leaders Podcast. And well, why am I here today? Well, because when Jim Iverson picks up the phone and asks you to do something, you do it. And here is why, folks. In 2018, the first time I met the Iversons, I was actually in New York at the United Nations General Assembly, interviewing social entrepreneurs tackling some of the world's greatest challenges. And I interviewed Jim, and it turns out we had a common interest. I was interviewing people tackling some of the world's greatest challenges. He was creating a solution for one. And at that time, that solution was for the opioid crisis. And in 2019, I got another phone call from the Iversons, and Jim asked me, Kevin, would you join our group of professionals, medical professionals and entrepreneurs, a group called the Opioid Crisis Working Group? And why were they Sen-Jam Pharmaceutical's product at that time, and still does, helps with reducing withdrawal symptoms from opioid users. So where in the continuum of care does your practice, does your business solve a need? And theirs was within withdrawal symptoms. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because I want to make sure you all know exactly who is going to be on this call today. And they're incredible people that mean the world to me. And I think we all on this call today have a common interest. And I think that common interest that investors and people watching this is really to accelerate change to problems that matter and transform lives through the greatness of capitalism, because to me, that's impact. So before we dive into all the questions today, before we start grilling the entrepreneurs, we just want to make sure everyone's tech is working today. So while the stragglers are coming in, all I want you folks to do is just go to your chat box on the bottom right, just type in the words or the word yes. It's a Y-E-S. Just want to make sure all of our tech is working today. Thank you, Samir. I see a yes coming in. Yes. Yes. Are you going to invest in Sen-Jam Farm? Whoa, there we go. Yes. A lot of yeses today. Jim and Jackie, I think it's going to be a great day today. There we go. Okay. All jokes aside, here comes a yes. Thank you, Brian. More and more. Come on, people. Let's see them. Yes, yes, yes. A yes and an exclamation mark. We love that. All right, let's make sure you all have a better understanding of Sen-Jam Pharmaceutical. So what I'm going to do is I am going to play the video that is hosted on the Red Crow site. Okay, here we go. We are sharing, and now we are going to press play. Listen.
I had always wondered why we were treating pain the way we do. I'm a clinical pharmacist by trade who has done research at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in pharmacokinetics and pain management. Thousands of people a day come across our desk for which we are providing pharmaceutical care and information to. And this bird's eye view made me realize that there could be a much better way, more effective, and with less side effects.
Our mission is to improve the lives of others by removing everyday pain and inflammation. What drives me is improving the lives of others. I love seeing other people succeed. My mission in life is beyond their self-limiting beliefs and step into their unlimited beliefs. The products that we built all serve large unmet needs.
Our first product, SJP-001, is for the prevention of alcohol hangover. When you take one dose of our product prior to consuming alcohol, it prevents an inflammatory response from occurring, and the next morning you will wake up refreshed and productive. If it had the power to reduce alcohol hangover, imagine what else it could do.
The raging war against COVID-19.
Thousands more are still expected to die.
Coronaviruses are on the rise. We have the opportunity to decrease that cytokine storm. We were able to introduce a product to researchers around the world. And not only did we feel we had a place in COVID-19, but so did they.
What excites me most about the products that Sen-Jam offers, that they're all very impactful in a large way to society.
The number one reason a person remains opioid dependent is because the withdrawal symptoms are too painful.
Opioid disorder and opioid withdrawal in particular is an inflammatory response. There are so many people who are suffering through opioid addiction who don't want to be on opioids, but they can't seem to lower their consumption. We submitted 3 patents, one for dependence, one for tolerance, and one for opioid withdrawal. By introducing a non-opioid pain reliever that can also reduce opioid withdrawal symptoms will allow those individuals who are dependent on opioids the opportunity to one day be free of opioids.
The reason why somebody should invest in us is we have a proven track record from taking commercialization. The 505(b)(2) pathway allows us to use all the safety data that's been generated for the individual products, which allows us to bring these products to market a lot faster.
We're hoping that investors can join us on this journey in order to decrease the pain and inflammation that so many people are suffering with, so that we can rapidly develop and deploy new products and make them available to every consumer.
All right, what do we think, people? Great video right there. And not to mention, I think, Jackie, you hit the nail on the head there. The opioid crisis is something that's still taking place today. I think 130 Americans and 70,000 people around the world will die. 130 today, sorry, 70,000 in a year around the world. So it's still a big crisis that might be overlooked right now. And a solution like that symptoms is very important. Something that we were able to feature in Real Leaders Magazine. If you all have the chance to take a look. But Jackie, let's keep this simple for the audience today. Let's just jump right into the questions that investors want to know. Let's just start with you. What are some of the unmet medical needs right now that Sen-Jam is looking to take on?
Thank you, Kevin. So what we did at Sen-Jam is we created the safest oral and most potent anti-inflammatory drug that can also reduce pain. And we can use this product for a large number of uses. And typically, we are using them for those conditions where there's both inflammation and pain associated. And a lot of people don't realize that some of these conditions that have been left untreated for years are really due to pain and inflammation in particular. And for example, as I mentioned in the video, is that opioid withdrawal is such a condition where we have been using opioids really to replace the opioid that a person is dependent on. And what we really need to do, in our opinion, is to treat the inflammation that is causing the pain and to also provide a non-opioid pain reliever in order for a person to be able to reduce their daily opioid consumption.
Got it. Now, Jack, just want to make sure we're clear on this. Most of the chemicals and molecules that are in your pills are chemicals and molecules that have already been tested for 20 plus years, right?
Yes, we are repurposing drugs that are available generically. When we combine them together, we create a new molecule or a new entity that can be used for different conditions. And we also make, as I was saying, we make a new product that has great potential as an anti-inflammatory. These products are known to be safe, as you're saying, for over 20 years. And we can use all that safety data to bring this new product to market.
Now, Jim, when you are using molecules that have already been in place for 20 years, do you have any proprietary technology or anything that can, I guess, make it difficult for competitors to compete with you?
Yeah, a big part of our strategy was to look at patents, look at molecules that have come off a patent and combine them, combining molecules that have never been combined before for a new indication. And we've been able to file patents for that, a utility patent for both use and formulation. And to date, we've filed 24 patents. So we have 24 patents and patents pending currently.
Interesting. So, Jackie, continue. Were you going to say something?
Well, I was just going to mention that we already have received a patent for the prevention of alcohol hangover and also for our product for opioid dependence.
Are there any other products out there like that will reduce my hangover?
Well, there are products on the market that are used the day after. So in other words, you're waking up with a hangover and then you're taking a very strong aspirin product. With our product, you would be taking it prior to drinking alcohol, and it's a very small dose. And just after taking one tablet, you would be able to prevent the hangover symptoms that would have potentially ensued the next day.
Okay, got it. So for all these patents and all this development, I know the FDA, you have different phases, and it takes a lot of capital to kind of get everything approved. Now I see on Red Crow, and if you're on the Red Crow site, if you're listening to this, you can go online, you can see how much they've raised already. I think it's around $200,000. But you've set the limit, Jim. You set the limit to $3 million. Why is it $3 million, and what will you use that money for?
Yeah, so for our 2020 operating plan, we have a budget of $3 million. And the most important pieces that it's going to be used for is we have an open investigational new drug application with the FDA to start a phase 1 clinical trial with for one of our indications. And so we have that teed up. And so this year we expect to do that phase 1 clinical trial as well as a phase 2 clinical trial for that indication. And that's that's probably covering about 50% of the 3 million to just do those 2 studies. And then in addition to that, we're going to advance our opioid withdrawal product with hopes of early 2021, we'll have an open IND to begin testing that in humans, and then advancing our IP. So a big part of our strategy is to advance. As we advance the phase 1, the phase 2, the intellectual property, bringing in new patents, it has high inflection points of valuation for the company.
So with COVID-19 going on right now, obviously there's some condensed timelines. People are working around the world together, collaborating, trying to find an effective solution for this. Now, with a repurposed drug that has molecules in it that have been tested in mankind for the past 20 years, are you able to speed up that process and approval to help people reduce the inflammation? And what are your in vitro studies like?
Yeah, so we had a product for treating upper respiratory viruses, infections. And when COVID-19 came out, we took that product and we were able to quickly retool it using a different non-steroidal anti-inflammatory and a different antihistamine. What we created again was a very potent anti-inflammatory, but also having antiviral capability in it. We are testing this drug right now in Australia against the actual COVID-19 virus. And we're going to show that our combination has antiviral capability. Then, because these drugs are used around the world, we are going to quickly be able to get into a phase 3 study in humans to test our drug against COVID-19. And because of the pandemic situation, the barriers to entry into clinical trials is easier now, or expedited with COVID-19. And our endpoint is we want to show that our product can not only decrease hospitalization, but can also decrease the lung damage that COVID-19 causes and also decrease mortality.
Okay, interesting. So your product, it's like an over-the-counter product, right? It's not something that you need to be prescribed for. What exactly is the business model for this? Where's the revenue coming?
Yeah, well, for this, for the COVID-19 product, it will be a prescription product. But answering addressing our business model, is to sell or license our assets as we advance them. So our focus is on the clinical research, early stage research, proof of concept, and then on the clinical side, de-risk, and then move towards the regulatory side, bringing it through the regulatory pathway and de-risking there, and then ultimately finding a commercial partner along the way who has the sales force and has the infrastructure, who will then take the product and they'll either license it from us, in which case we would get a commission from them for sales and maybe some milestone payments for the development, or we would just outright sell the assets.
Jim, Jackie, I know you pretty well, but maybe give our audience a background about your experience, about why you're capable of doing something like this, your competencies, Jackie, your experience in drug research. Jim, let's start with you really quick, though.
Yeah, for me, one of the things that was fascinating when Jackie brought this idea to me, I've had a career in supply chain, so it's been always looking at better, faster, cheaper, and creating a high service level at the end with whatever we developed. And for me, I took a lot of the same principles of supply chain and have brought them to what we're doing here. And a big part, when we would design a supply chain solution, it's impossible to do everything yourself. So we integrated, we brought in we've had many partners to build end-to-end supply chain solutions from the manufacturer all the way to the retailer. And so we've engaged, and with the same concept with what we're doing at Sen-Jam, we're able to do a lot with a little by having a strong team that's grounded with experience. Jackie on the clinical side, Tom Dahl, another partner who is on head of product development and regulatory affairs, and then I'm the guy who kind of pulls it all together. But we've been able to create partnerships around the world. Our scientific advisory board, third-party resources, our CRO, our in vivo testing, in vitro testing, and also at the manufacturing level. So we've created partnerships. So we've integrated a whole bunch of partnerships that can make us very efficient and do a lot with a little.
Jackie, what about your background?
For me, thanks, Kevin. So my background is as a clinical pharmacist for over 30 years, and also my experience with doing research in pharmacokinetics and pain management at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. I always had this great interest in educating the masses of people. And as a pharmacist, you have that opportunity to educate one person at a time. But I really wanted to bring product to the market so that we can educate many people. The most important part of our product, I feel, is that finding those niches where we're not just introducing a product, but we're going to tell people how to use it so you're using it the safest and most effective way possible. So for example, our products are typically taken as preventatively. You take them prior to when you know the pain event is going to occur, so that you only have to take a small dose and the most effective dose.
So the safest product out there, you want to make sure it's efficient. And, just to bring this full circle, I want to ask you all why your company exists. we came together to accelerate change to problems that matter in the first place. We want to make sure that people are not going back into addiction. So to wrap this up, before we start letting the crowd ask the questions, I want to ask you all, why does your company exist?
I'd like to, I mean, for me, it's been a big part of my life is to improve the lives of others. And it's just been wonderful, Jackie, coming up with the idea for this and us being able to implement it. The impact that we can have on lives under very different circumstances can be huge. And that's that's what really drives me. And that's a big part of who I am. So to be able to wake up every day and be thinking about, you know, how we can improve the lives of others makes my life meaningful.
For me, as a pharmacist, every day I wake up saying, why aren't we doing things a better way and a safer way for patients when it's right there in front of us and we need to bring it to people? So that's what drives me, is I want to make sure that people are using medications safely and most appropriately.
Wonderful. All right. Well, I appreciate you people. And that's actually the first thing Jim told me that back in 2018. And so what's your purpose? Is to help people step into their greatness. So everything's full circle now. And I'll stop asking questions now. I'm going to pass it on to Brian Smith really quick. We just want to introduce Brian of Red Crow. Brian, please say hello, and then we'll open it up to the crowd, ask questions.
Thanks, Kevin. Great job this morning, Jackie. It's just an absolute pleasure to have been working with you both. I speak for the entire Red Crow team, from the time we met you here in San Francisco to kicking off the campaign. And you truly have been inspiring entrepreneurs. One of the things you touched upon, Jim, is for Red Crow, the whole mission has been work with companies that are disrupting a market within healthcare and making a very large social impact. And, you know, I know we had a discussion the other day that even with COVID that's going on, this opioid crisis and how it also relates to mental health is extremely large problem in our society and all over the world. And I do think it's going to be something we start hearing more about as COVID starts to temper a little bit, and some of the ramifications of folks that are in pain, whether it's physically and mentally, that I've already been struggling, or others that are going to end up starting to struggle. So I think you guys are riding a wave. You're addressing a very serious market, and I love Sen-Jam. I love the products you represent. I don't know if it's okay if I ask a quick question, because I know it's something that has come up a couple of times. But, you know, Jim, the whole point, and Jackie, of being on Red Crow is to find new partners in the form of investors. And so, you know, we had early discussions that Sen-Jam was unique from a lot of the other companies that we had on the platform, because you essentially have three amazing products that as an investor I can invest in. Do you think you could address a little bit about, if I'm an investor and I want to invest in Sen-Jam, how does the investment work when it comes to the three different products, and knowing that any time one of those products could be acquired or licensed?
Yeah, that's a great question, Brian. So we have 7 assets under development. And when Jackie first came up with this idea, we took 2 paths. We took the intellectual property path, which has led us to filing and getting approved 24 patents. And then we took the FDA, looking at the FDA path of you know, what we can get the regulatory approval on. And those 7 assets, we you know, our lead assets have been opioid withdrawal, our opioid withdrawal product, our upper respiratory virus infection / COVID for the time being, in our alcohol hangover prevention product. So investing in Sen-Jam allows you to get a piece of the entire portfolio. The lead assets are the ones that are going to have the highest inflection point in the shortest period of time throughout this year. We project this year that we'll probably have a 2 to 5 times value multiplier based on the inflection points and what we're looking to achieve with the $3 million investment. And then along the way, anytime that there was an asset that was sold, or our business model is more focused on licensing, but if an asset was sold, those proceeds come into the company, and then there's a high likelihood that we would distribute them to the shareholders based on the model that we have. We're not a capital intensive model, so upon selling an asset and getting a financial windfall, we'd most likely distribute that capital back out to the shareholders.
Excellent, Jim. Thanks. Kevin, I'll hand it back over to you and just say a few words in conclusion.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thanks, Brian. And all right, so it's time to open up questions to everyone out there. Just like we had you type in yes, it's the same chat box. If you'd like to ask a question, please go ahead. We have already had one come in, and let's see here. All right, here we go. Jim, we'll pass this one to you. Where do you see the company valuation inflection points this year? Are investors investing in the entire platform or just one of the drugs? So very similar to kind of what Brian just asked, but
yeah. So I'll just recap on that. So we see, based on, we've had some of our assets valued to, specifically to validate some of our assumptions. So we see after we complete our phase 1 clinical trial this year, which could be done in 3 months, we see a 2 times multiplier in valuation over where we are today. And then when we complete our phase 2, we see another 3 times. So just with those phase 1 and phase 2, we could see that's what I mentioned before, about a 2 to 5 times inflection multiplier. In addition to that, our patents have been planted. The seeds have been planted 5 and 6 years ago. So we're in prosecution with a lot of our patents right now. And we just received our patent issuing allowance for opioid dependence. And that market alone is in the US is a $5 billion market. And we have ideas of how we're going to enter that market with our dependence product. But we were really thinking we were going to get the opioid withdrawal product approved first, because that's going to provide us with some endpoints to better do our trials around the dependence. And so the combination of the big inflection points will be the combination of completing the clinical trials and then looking at the inflection points with furthering our intellectual property.
All right, thanks, Jim. And moving on, Jackie, this one's for you. This comes from an anonymous attendee. With respect to the COVID opportunity, have you approached any large pharma or biotech companies to get your product included in upcoming combination trials?
Great question. So with COVID-19, it is like the scientific community has come together searching for solutions to COVID-19. And there was some researchers who were using half of our product. Ours is a combination product. So we were quickly able to get on the phone with these researchers, and we have formed a collaboration with them. And it turns out that these researchers are the equivalent of the National Institute of Health that we have in the United States. This is the equivalent of that in France. So we are thrilled that researchers of that caliber are on the same track as we are of providing a combination product that includes not only antiviral capability, but also an immunomodulating capability to a product. And so with their lift and with what we can do in the United States by expediting these clinical trials, we feel that we can get into humans in a very short period of time.
And just to add to that, we're running on several parallel paths. We have in vitro studies that are being done now that we mentioned before that we'll be getting the results back next week on. We've got this partnership that we formed they're going to allow us to use their protocol, which would cost us, tens of thousands of dollars plus months to write. And that's required for us to go to the FDA to open up an investigational new drug application. And the FDA has instituted recently emergency use authorization. So that we get this, we will be able to get things accelerated with the FDA. And then in addition to that, we have some doctors who are looking at using our product off-label, and we've developed an app for patients to self-report, to remind them to take their drugs, to self-report their condition and also their mood. So we developed that just in preparation. So not knowing when we're going to need all of these tools or what's going to be first, we're just doing all of this and having it all ready as we're moving slowly, because we're only evidence-based. We only want to move forward when we pass the next gate of success. We're not going to come running out and shout from the mountaintops that we have something and not deliver. We'd rather underpromise and overdeliver. And so our goal is to be in humans as quickly as possible, and we're working on multiple fronts to get there.
This next question comes from Lorraine. She says, you've told us about your top 3 assets. Could you touch upon the indications of some of your other products?
Sure. So within the platform of opioid use disorder, we have the 3 patents. We have not only for reducing opioid withdrawal, but we just received indication that we're going to have the patent for opioid dependence. The way that product would work is prior to surgery. You, as an example, you could take our product and it would decrease the amount of opioids that a patient would need to take post-operatively. That is a way of decreasing a person's potential to become opioid dependent. A third asset in that platform of opioid use disorder is opioid tolerance. A lot of people, when they take opioids, they find that they have to take more and more of the opioid to get the same effect. We believe that our product, if you took it with the opioid when an opioid is started, that you would not have to escalate your opioid doses over time. Unrelated to opioid use disorder, we also feel that our product could be taken with an individual who suffers from any of the irritable bowel disorder syndromes. And when you take our non-steroidal product in combination with our antihistamine, the antihistamine can protect the GI tract against the NSAID, or the non-steroidal induced GI pain that is so familiar with taking non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. They cause some GI upset. We believe that our combination product will decrease that adverse effect of the non-steroidal anti-inflammatories and could be safe to take for patients who have irritable bowel syndromes.
And another product is, oftentimes when people get flu shots, they feel as though the site pain is challenging, and it's one of the leading reasons why people won't get a flu shot, because of the site pain. And the second is that they feel as though they get the flu. So we have a product that we've done some early testing on, that if you take it prior to getting your flu shot, it'll reduce the site pain and it'll reduce the symptoms associated with that people often get as though they have the flu.
Interesting. All right, good people. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for all of our questions. We'll wait here a little bit longer if anyone has any more, but we haven't seen anything else come in. So at this time, I'm going to just thank everyone for joining us today, and I'm going to pass it to Brian Smith for some closing remarks.
Great. Thanks again, Kevin. So for those that are in attendance that aren't familiar with Red Crow, what we would encourage you to do is go to redcrow.com and register there. And you can see the Sen-Jam campaign. The video that Kevin played for us is there and visible, and a lot of other great content. One of the goals for the Red Crow platform is to allow investors access to really great investment opportunities like Sen-Jam. Red Crow is a direct investment platform in the equity crowdfunding space. And so one of the things we say is we don't make recommendations. However, I will share this with you. We do not let companies on our platform that haven't been well vetted by our investment committee. And you can learn more about who those individuals are at redcrow.com. And they range from very well experienced physicians, healthcare professionals, corporate leaders within healthcare, and analysts. And with all of them, along with the crowd feedback, we generate this really great report. And you can check out Sen-Jam's report as part of their campaign within their deal room. So again, that's redcrow.com, and you will see Sen-Jam under the Explore Investments. And I'll just say, also one of the great things about a platform like Red Crow, where companies are up there bearing their soul and showing you all their hard work, is the level of transparency that is created. And I think it's really important, as Jackie would probably agree, within healthcare, there's a lot of folks out there that can make claims and say that their company does this. But when you're willing to put yourself in front of thousands of viewers from all over the world, you're not hiding from anything, and you certainly are offering a level of transparency that is important. So I'd recommend you visit. I know Jim and Jackie would love to hear from you. We will put this actual launch party on the website as well. So if you want to share it with anybody that you think would have enjoyed listening to Jim and Jackie, we can do that as well. And then I was also told we're going to have another special webinar coming up very soon where Jackie's going to talk a little bit more and go into depth about the COVID treatment. Is that correct, Jackie?
Yes, I would like to do a webinar, and I would like to provide information to folks just about viruses in general. I think that understanding how viruses work and how they cause disease would be a timely webinar to hold so that people can understand COVID-19 better.
Yeah, and so Jackie, that's fantastic. And what's great about even doing something like this webinar is, having spent all this time with you, I guess, Jim, I loved hearing about the product for the flu shot. Really, really funny, because I got mine late this year, and I decided I was going to get it. I think I started hearing a lot of the COVID talk and thought, what, that reminds me, I never even got the flu shot. And as Aislinn knows, I was hemming and hawing because we had a lot of travel coming up. And I've heard in the past, though I've never really experienced it, but I have heard that a lot of times people feel like they got the onset of the flu after they get the flu shot. And that's why I was so hesitant about getting it, is I didn't want to have that sicky feeling traveling, and because then your mind is playing tricks with you. Is it the side effect, or am I sick? So I love hearing about these things that you're working on. I love learning about inflammation within the body. I think that's becoming more and more of a hot topic, especially around different foods we can eat. So the fact that you're addressing inflammation is so great. So we will share very soon the details of that webinar, and we'll certainly find a way for anybody that's registers with Red Crow that we communicate to you when we do that. Maybe we will have Kevin join us again, because it's just been so great. So I thank everybody for attending, for learning more about Sen-Jam, for learning more about Red Crow if this is your first time getting to know us. And we're all available. If anybody here wants to reach me directly, my email is brian@redcrow.com. So feel free to drop me a line if you want to ask more about Sen-Jam. You can go to Red Crow and go to their campaign there. But also, Jim, Jackie, is there any way for anybody listening that wants to even contact you right after this event?
Yeah, I believe that through the Red Crow platform, you can get in touch with us directly, or you can go to our website at sen-jam.com, And you can contact us through that, or you can email me at jiversen@sen-jam.com.
Great. Well, thank you, everybody. Again, I want to thank Kevin Edwards for hosting this morning. Kevin, great job, and really appreciate everybody attending.
Great. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.